What is going on, investors? Hopefully you guys had a great day out there. Time to talk about Simon Property Group, ticker symbol SPG. This is one of the few REITs that we regularly cover here on the channel. This one's down about 30% over the last year, although it's made a little bit of comeback over the last few months. It yields 5.23%. So if you're hunting for yield, this one could be on your list. Now, what they did is reported earnings after the bell today. They reported their full year in Q4. We'll jump over to the numbers and we'll take a look at what's going on there. And then finally, we'll jump over to the stock chart. I know most people are going to invest in this one for the dividend, but there is plenty of room on this stock to get back to where it was in the all-time highs. So you could see some price appreciation in this one. Now, what I thought was interesting is the CEO made a comment saying, we feel confident that we have turned the corner. We expect growth in earnings and cash flow in 2021. So it's interesting that Simon Property is willing to say that right now, like right where we're at. So it definitely, bodes well for the confidence, I think, with investors and certainly in other market segments as well. Now, this assumes no further government mandated shutdowns in any of their domestic retail properties. And whether or not that's going to be the case, I'm not exactly sure. But I do know politically the shutdowns, especially out here in California, have been very, very detrimental to the politicians, okay? We actually saw that our governor out here kind of reversed a shutdown mainly because of political pressure. And so I think it's going to be difficult for either political party to enact more shutdowns unless there's just overwhelming evidence that that is something that we should do. Now, let's jump over the numbers. We've got revenue here. We've got total revenue here. This is for the 3 months. It's kind of nice to look at the last 3 months because it kind of gives you an idea what the CEO is seeing, that we basically turned the corner. And then we've got the 12 months here. We went from 1.4 billion in revenue down to 1.1. So obviously a negative trend, but if he thinks that we've turned the corner, might be a positive thing. The other thing is SPG is going to run into a lot of like low ball comps into next year. They should be able to hurdle these numbers if things do get back to normal. You see, for the full year, we went down from 5.7 down to 4.6. Now we've got all these other operating expenses here. We've got total operating expenses here coming in at 669 for the quarter. You see, that's actually down from last year. And so when you have revenues decline, you would like to see your operating expenses decline, at least to keep profitability intact. And that's exactly what we saw. We see for the full year, we went from about 2.85 down to 2.63 billion in expenses. That gives us for the quarter $462 million of operating income. And you see here for the 12 months, we actually got about almost $2 billion worth of profit. Now in the previous year, we were closer to $3 billion. So we're way off where we were, okay? But things are moving in the right direction for Simon Property. Now, from an asset side, everything looks really strong. We've got their investment properties at cost here, and you got to assume some of these, depending on when they bought them, could have appreciated a little bit or could have appreciated a lot. They minus out accumulated depreciation. That gets us $23 billion worth of assets, at least from the property side, and is about the same. It's basically flat year over year. They've got a little bit more cash on the balance sheet as well. That's kind of nice to see. We got our total assets coming in at $34 billion. This company has a $36 billion market cap. So it's just something that you want to keep in mind there. Now, from the liability side, we've got these mortgages, okay, that we've got to pay. And we've got total liabilities coming in at $31 billion. All in all, not bad from, considering how rough a year it was. They didn't blow up this balance sheet really at all. And so everything looking pretty solid, in my opinion, for Simon Property. Now, the all key when you're analyzing REITs is you want to look at FFO, which is funds from operations, because what it does is we pull down this net income number here. So here's our net income for the last 3 months. You can come up here and find this number somewhere up here. Here it is right here. So here's our 3-month ended net income number. Here's our 12-month ended net income number. So those get pulled down to the FFO. So here's our 1.2 billion net income. Here's our 300 million for the most recent quarter. And what they do is they can add back in depreciation, because depreciation is not cash. Okay. It's something they have to recognize for accounting purposes, but it's not necessarily cash flowing out of the business. Okay. Now they've got some share depreciation on amortization amortizations from unconsolidated entities, so they can add that back in. They've got loss or gains from assets that they might have sold or inherited, and we move through the channel, and it gets us an FFO for the business at 786 for the quarter. We were at over $1 billion in the previous year, so some room for improvement there. And you see for the full year, paints a similar story. Basically, the net income is painting a very similar story to the FFO. We're down about $1 billion on the FFO. We made about $3 billion. Now, you see here, we've got diluted income per share coming in at 86 cents. In the previous year, we made $1.66. For the full year, they made $3.59. And they made $6.81. Now we've got some recalculations here depending on, different kind of assets. And we get our full diluted FFO per share down here at $2.17 in the quarter, $9.11 for the full year. Previous year, we're sitting at 12, but $9.11 for a year, not bad at all considering the dividend rate is $5.06 per share. So all looks good there. Now, moving over to the stock chart, this stock has actually been in a tidy little uptrend over the last, really since November. The stock didn't really bottom in November, but it really kind of reversed itself in November. And we're kind of trading up here in a range where the stock, in my opinion, can kind of do two different things. It can either continue this uptrend, and I tell you what, there's a lot of airspace underneath this stock. And now there'll be stops along the track where this one consolidates and pulls back. But I really see kind of an end target at this one at $130 per share, which is a solid $30 more than we're at and about 30% higher than where this stock is. Now, when or if it gets back to 130, I'm not necessarily going to predict when that could happen, but just from a technical perspective, it looks like it certainly could get back to that point at some point. Now, we've got two critical areas here. Acting as support is 95.40. So the stock should, if it pulls back, I mean, it's sitting at 99 right now. So a couple dollars, it pulls back. It should have some support there. And it's kind of been hanging out between $92 and about $100 over the last, last couple weeks or so. Below that is an area where I would really want to step in on this one. That's at $82 per share. That to me would be a really nice place, although the stock will have kind of reversed itself a little bit at that point, and 95 would act as a resistance on the way back up. But we're trading above that 95, and if we can stay above 95 and continue this uptrend, I tell you what, there's a lot of green space underneath this one. And if the CEO is correct that they have turned the corner in terms of earnings and cash flow, well, maybe you get a little bit of dividend bump. Maybe you get a special dividend. Maybe some interesting stuff happens with Simon Property. They probably could be active too, kind of buying up property. There's probably a fair amount of distressed property out there in the commercial space. A company like this that's well capitalized and has access to more money if it needs it could be in good position to swallow up some of those assets. So that was Simon Property Group. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. We'll be back again soon. Good luck with your investments.